Ladies and gentlemen, praise God and welcome in. This is the Matthew Dark Show. Now, remember, hit subscribe everywhere you get your shows. Never miss an episode. A somber day in America. We're just 24 hours removed from the political assassination of Charlie Kirk, of course, on campus in Utah, shot about 200 yards away. Assailant still on the loose. FBI full attention. This is a national manhunt. This is an unbelievable moment. The anger that I felt upon that news has had to be prayed upon. I've had to seek Christian brotherhood and counsel and fellowship around. It is enraging, the cowardly, the gutless act. You're going to take a man's life and you don't give that man a chance to fight for his life. You did a cowardly thing. So I hope, quite frankly, the public finds him before law enforcement finds him, and this thing ends rather messily, because a bullet in this guy's head means nothing for what you stole from this nation, what you stole from this country, what you stole from that family. Remember, little children are going to go home. They went to bed that night thinking they're going to see their dad when they get up. They'll never see him again because of this gutless, cowardly act. So we're praying around that family that Christ is in their heart, comforting, smothering them with grace and love, because this is unspeakable. Of course, we have the senseless killing of the woman on the train in North Carolina. The mental illness, the violence, folks, is reaching proportions that are unsustainable. We're just a week removed from the trans killer, the assassin, the Robin Westman, in which we now know, per the killer's words, they regret ever entering the trans world, regret ever entering and brainwashing themselves, folks. This is all happening in America. And then, of course, we have 9/11. And you want to think about victims. You want to think about disgusting acts done in America. We got 3,000 people killed. You want to look at the all-time greatest government lies to ever have taken place in this country. You start right there at 9/11, that a guy in a cave in Afghanistan took out 3 buildings in New York City with 2 planes and a Pentagon one that it eviscerated. But yet we found a passport from one of the hijackers on the New York City streets, the sidewalks, the lies, the violence, the chaos, the demonic activity. It's at all-time highs. Dear friend of the show, Brother Cain, Taskforce Freedom, of course, he's been fighting daily for children, protecting our children. At the end of the day, look at what our poor children are facing against just violent, demonic, sexualization, betrayal from adults. I think is really the thing where you thought adults were trustworthy, and we're finding out they're absolutely sick perverts when it comes to kids. Brother Cain, so good to be with you.
Yes, sir.
Just kind of give us your thoughts on the last 24 hours with Charlie, with the violence and the senselessness that we've seen in America. Where are you at with some of this stuff?
Yeah, actually, it's pretty tough time. My wife and I just happened to be home yesterday, and my wife works from home, and we basically just sobbed together because the what I call the pathetic lying teleprompter reading whores have created this situation, man. And so this guy who just was exercising his First Amendment right, just speaking freely, and they decided to kill him. And so it's sad. I'm so angry, so angry. But I know that the solution is not violence.
Yes.
I can tell you, I've heard from some people, and they are set to go.
Yeah.
And I'm simply saying our founding fathers gave us a solution. And that solution is the ability to vote and get these people out of office. Now, here's the issue. Our voting system needs to be fixed. These folks have been cheating for decades. And so I know President Trump is working on that process of correcting that wrong with the voting process. But the left, the media, the Marxicom, Democrat leaders, they want us to hit the street.
Yes.
They think they want that. They don't understand that our willingness, our desire to be free, we will take, as Charlie did, we will take that bullet to be free. You can never squelch that kind of energy. Someone else will pick up that mantle. In fact, I'm certain that dozens, if not thousands, will step forward and will be the Charlie Kirk and speak the truth to the country. And my heart goes out. It's hard to even talk about thinking about his kids. And I honestly, I have watched that video over and over again. And it might sound, they might say, Cain, are you sadistic? I go, no, I never want to forget what they did to this peaceful man. I never, and at some point, we'll be able to hold these monsters, these animals accountable.
That's right. And I want to go right there because so many times these tragedies, or even in our own lives, we incur tragedy and we get a couple of days beyond it. We get a week, a month, and 2 months. And then all of a sudden it doesn't have that same impact. And I'm saying some events in America, they have to stay with us from here on out. And so when you see an innocent life robbed and someone who, and this is what's so bizarre about it is the sadness I feel is for those kids that thought they had a dad coming home in a couple of days, and that's not going to happen. How do you explain that to them? How do you get them through this moment of, well, hold on a second. My whole life is nothing like I thought it was before. I am so angry that this psychopath put that in those children's lives. It really bothers me. I don't care if they're Charlie's kids, your kids, unknown kids, to put that. Shame on you. How dare you? And boy, is there something coming from you, least in the afterworld, for what you've done. But we have to keep that, like you just said, I don't want to be sadistic about it. I never want to let that feeling of how do I take this anger and turn it into something righteous for the Lord and for the kingdom, because that's the only thing you can do with it, or they do win.
They do win. Yep. And I think we do have to remember, never forget. And we also have to understand, where did this sickness come from? How did this guy decide that he wanted to kill a man who was just exercising his freedom of speech? How did he decide? Because the lying teleprompter reading whores pushed that narrative. They've called President Trump they've called us Nazis. They've called me the black face of the white supremacists.
Yes.
I mean, at some point, if you continue to tell people these lies, they know, the media, the Democrat leadership, they know there's going to be some sick individuals that's going to exercise that evilness and try to harm people. And so I think at some point we hold those animals.
Absolutely.
I'm no longer going to sit back and just be polite to these cretins. They are freaking evil, and they hate you because you're white. They hate this country. They hate women, and they hate me because I'm a Negro man that speaks the truth.
You're getting out of line. You're voting incorrectly. You're supposed to do this, sir. You're out of here. We're breaking through. We're not stopping. We're not going to do that anymore.
Right. I can't tell you the number of times I've been called Uncle Tom.
Right.
I'm like, oh, okay. And I fight like this. You call me Uncle Tom, I'm going to call you a house Negro, because that's what you are. Your job is to keep black people in line. Obama, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, what's his name? Hakeem Jeffries, Cory Booger. All of them are fake, phony Negroes, and they are in charge. They are responsible for making sure Negroes continue to kill each other and then kill everybody else.
Leo Mangione, the United Healthcare CEO killer, another gutless one. You say, how did we get to this kind of place? Well, you saw liberal media support that. You saw GoFundMe. He's raised, I know of at least $500,000 for his defense, that psychos on the left have been persuaded, and this is demonic capture. The only way you would say, I will give this cold-blooded killer money for his defense when he did something that we know is completely illegal, that no civilized society can operate now with this now uncharted territory where we have this vigilante justice, but it's perverted into, if you disagree with the Democrat narrative, you are an enemy of the state, and it doesn't matter. So somebody is pure, and I mean, you talk about somebody, and I didn't agree with every position of Charlie Kirk's, but where was he offensive to you as a man? He might convict you to say, oh, I don't like the way he's challenging my manhood, but it was done in civil debate. It was done in the context of, we live in a civilized country with a constitution. How do we take your grievances and our laws and principles, and how do we live as a civilized? His goal was never division. His goal was never, but he is now somebody who, think about this, go back to Dr. Martin Luther King. who would have been a
100%.
symbol, and they took him out like that.
Yep,
Why?
yep,
Well, he challenged, even though he did it in a peaceful way.
yep.
He did it in a legal way, a biblical way, in a God abiding way. We've come a long way since those kind of people, right?
It's interesting that you say that because right before coming on the show, my wife had mentioned to me, she goes, Charlie Kirk has now become
Yeah,
the current day Martin Luther King. I go, he
that's right.
has. He has. And the world will never be the same.
That's right.
It will never be the same because people have woken up and they're no longer going to be polite to those animals that are creating
You
this.
can't be.
You
That's the
cannot.
problem. The reason we got here, Cain, and you know this because you know of your in-depth school
Oh
just
my God.
culture, is that we were too nice to the mom in the carpool lane that was says, "Oh, my kid's doing LGB, my kid's
Yep.
doing pronouns." We were scared to offend. We were saying, you know what, God has a better design for your child. There's help, mental health, that we can really get your child. We can love your child through that gender crises, that identity
Yep.
crises,
Yep.
because we didn't want to offend anybody and kind of just go with the flow. Look at how fast and how violent this trans movement got, and nobody said until maybe now, we're
Yep.
going to stop right here. It's
Yep.
over. We've
It's
gone
over
too
with.
far.
I was on Kim Munson. I was on his
Yes.
show a couple of weeks ago, and that trans shooter came up, and I said to her, I go, I apologize before I made this comment. I go, Kim, the days of being quiet is over. And so let me tell you what I think about this trans Tifa guy.
Mm-hmm.
If he has a mental illness, many of them have gender dysphoria, and I
Yes.
feel for them, and they need help. But when you turn your anger against children, I don't care one thing about you. So I said, Kim, I hope that worms and maggots are feasting on his flesh.
Yes.
I'm no longer going to be polite with these animals. If you are a man and you're dressed as a woman, you can pretend to be whatever you want, sir. I'm never going to accept you as a woman. And until we stand up and say, shut your pie hole, sir, and sit your butt down, you're not a woman.
Use the men's room.
You and go in the room into the ladies' room when my granddaughter is in there using the bathroom,
Find
and
out.
you'll get to see what the heck happened to you, sir. You get to see. And I'm not professing violence.
No,
I'm simply saying, as a man, as men in this
that's
country,
primal. You can't help that.
we are supposed to
Yeah.
protect the innocent. And if some guy walks in and he's got a dress on and you know he's a man and he's in there with your daughter, it is not going to be a good day for that dude, man. And hey,
Nice.
hey, listen, do I go to jail? You maybe. I'll
Maybe.
tell the judge. Guess what, Your Honor? If that non uh, menstruating fool goes into the bathroom with my daughter again, I'll
Yes.
see you next week, sir.
That's right. This is what you want in the culture. This is what you want in society, is that guy in drag, that big slob with a beard that wants to play woman. You want him so nervous, so uncomfortable to exercise that out in public that you don't see it, because he knows, holy cow, I go near that women's room, I got 10 men that might jump me, and the culture's not supporting me anymore. They're
That's right.
saying, we want you. And see, what we did a terrible job was, is that used to be a filthy, dirty, dark secret in the corner of some family that was ashamed of that person. The internet, media, Democrat takeover, demonic takeover has now connected. And so we've got people that really should have gotten mental health and kept this at their home level that are now being celebrated. And you saw that reach a climax during Joe Biden. And so
Yes.
that's kind of where I want to segue, is a lot of people thinking, when, okay, this was, I know, just kind of a comment. Trump won, problem solved, right? Trump won, take that foot off the gas, baby, we're in. And what we found is especially places like Colorado,
Yep.
California, these
Yep.
really aggressive states when it comes to children, is that the work is nowhere near complete. It's in fact just getting begin, because we have so much overhaul to do in the school districts, in the representation of Coloradans all over the state. Kind of give us a temperature check of this. It was the LGBTQ, it was the BLM, it was the DEI, it was all of this sort of separating people. What's the temperature right now in the classroom?
So here's the thing to understand about correcting these wrongs.
Mhm.
We have to work within the law.
Yeah.
If we want to correct that, we have to work within the law, and that takes time.
Yeah.
They can do all the harm they want today, tomorrow, in 5 minutes. They can. Fixing things, working within the law, it takes time, and so it will take years to
Yes.
correct some of these things. These I have been trying to be patient and understanding of teachers, administrators, school board members, thinking, they got a job, they got a house, they got a mortgage, they got a boat, and I'm done.
Yes.
I'm done.
There you go.
You fools, you don't think you're going to be held accountable for the harm that you're causing to children?
Right.
You fools. These LG, this is what happened. The Democrat Party took over the gay and lesbian movement.
Yes.
And they interjected the transgender stuff, the multiple alphabets. They did that. You know why? Because they knew it would work, because they did it with Negroes. They did it with blacks back in the 60s. They weaponized black people. They no longer needed the KKK. We're killing each other by 200 every week.
Right.
They didn't need the KKK. They needed someone that would go out and kill white children.
Mm-hmm.
And they have these transgender freaks that are doing it. And they applaud it. You can go and kill 5, 10, 15 kids, and these news media Democrats will support them. This is a sickness. And the day is done of being quiet.
Yes.
I think what we should do, and I might be getting off point here, with the media, every time you see them in public shooting a story about a lost dog, about the weather, about some country club, about every time you see these folks on the street, you go up behind them and you call them lying, pathetic, teleprompter reading whores, and you keep repeating it, and you disrupt their freakish broadcasts until they get in their stupid little van and they drive away.
That's right.
Everyone, see, this is how you fight them without going to jail. What are they going to do? It's my right to stand next to you and call you a freak.
Yes.
It's my right to call you a pervert. It's my right to tell you you're harming children. You morons, you get to go back to your gated community while these children are harming themselves, while they're cutting off their boobs, while they're taking all these chemicals that's going to destroy them. See, I think at some point in the future, the trans Tifa people are going to turn on their masters. They're going to turn on them and go, you did this to me. I want to harm you, the doctor, my mom, my uncle, everybody that told me this was going to be wonderful for me. This is the natural progression.
We have now basically a written word, a living testimony from the Minnesota trans killer. And it describes exactly as you are saying, where they have tremendous regret. Why did I get myself into this? I wish I would have never done it. And the only thing I can think about is it was such a short window of time in which it just sort of the floodgates open, meaning in theory, it's the Joe Biden era in which, we could just rattle off these trans surgeries. And we know, luckily, gratefully, thankfully, we've stopped that. So we maybe just have this little tiny segment of generation. Every single one of them is a ticking time bomb, though. Every single one of them has nothing to live for. See, moms don't understand. Maybe dads don't understand. Maybe the neighbor doesn't understand. Maybe grandma doesn't understand. Once you do this, there is no going back. You cannot undo the surgery, the puberty, the growth, the development, the psychological torment, the wounds that have to be cared for life, the constant antibiotics, the constant antidepressants, the constant hormone. You can't go back. And they were led into something that is essentially going to be a lifelong torture chamber, their own body. And so there has to be stiff earthly consequences as well as then the afterlife. But we cannot tolerate that. What they've done, it would be if you saw somebody torturing a puppy, drowning a puppy, stabbing a puppy, wouldn't you call this is that on steroids times 10? Because these are innocent people that you've completely led to hell and you knew better. So it's unforgivable in the flesh, to be honest with you.
100%. And I think, I hope that sometime in the future that attorneys, law firms will take up their cause to say they can ask the question, why do you think Johnny is mentally ill? And if they can draw that dotted line back to the school system, if they can draw that dotted line back to individuals in politics, then sue these people until
Yes.
they live on the street.
Asbestos exposure,
Yeah,
other and we're paying out these claims, and I'm sure those aren't even enough. You were
yep,
exposed to the same kind of poison, lifelong injury in many cases.
absolutely.
How big a check do we need to write? Those checks need to be huge. Yes, mom and dad have responsibility, but licensed doctors, licensed psychologists, school officials,
That's right.
politicians. I'm sorry, you either you should have known or did know that this was harmful, and you did it anyways for profit and for power. Therefore, the stiffest penalty is now
Yep.
being
And
upon you.
this is my hope, so that these individuals don't resort to violent actions against these
Yes.
people. I think they deserve it, but
Yes.
I don't think they should resort to it if they have a
Agree.
recourse against these monsters.
Yes.
And I don't know how these people sleep at night. I mean, no, I do, because I've met a few just full blown lunatics as a police officer.
Yes.
I handled a case. I mean, this is a real quick story. I handled a case where a gentleman was basically stabbed to death right in front of
Mm-hmm.
us on the other side of a fence.
Yes.
We tackled the victim. He died right there on the spot. He told us what happened and where he was, where the suspect was. Went back to the apartment. The suspect was sitting at the kitchen table eating a bowl of cereal. The room was
They're gone.
full of blood.
Wow.
He was heartless.
Wow.
He was demonic.
That's Koberger.
Said nothing, felt nothing. That's our media. That's the Democrat Party. Those are the leaderships that people follow. I have friends that follow these folks, and I go, well,
And go right there right now, because look at what we've just faced. So if you consider yourself a proud Democrat today, and you've seen just the last week of violence where the trans community, we had a school shooting, of course, in Evergreen just yesterday. You have a politically motivated assassination of Charlie Kirk. We know we have epic violence in our American inner cities. How can you actually say, and with a straight face and with pride, I'm a Democrat today, and pretend you have any credibility, any morality?
These are brainwashed, indoctrinated fools. I'll say that to my brother-in-law if I
And
have to. They're
godless, and
fools.
godless.
They're one. So think about this, and I've been saying this for years. 200 Black people are killed every single week by other Black
Yes.
people. For decades, no one has ever said a thing.
Correct.
56 years. No one said, not Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton,
None.
Hakeem, the Queen, Jeffries, Cory Booker, Ehan, whatever her name is.
100%.
No one's ever said a thing. This is what happened. President Trump goes into DC and says, we're going to stop the violence right now. And what do? They demonize him.
Yes.
You freaking people. There are children, innocent children being killed in the crossfire, and these freaking animals.
And when they're not killed, they're scared to death every night.
Every day. Yep. Every day. They hear gunshots. Their parents put them in a bathtub.
Yep.
It is mind-boggling that we allow these animals to even exist among us. So what we do is even if they're not doing a broadcast, you see someone from CNN, you're a freaking liar. If they go to the mall, if they go to the supermarket, you're a lying teleprompter reading whore, and you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You know what? I remember Maxine Waters saying years ago.
Same thing. Get up in them.
Get in their face. Get in. You tell them you're not wanted here. You know what, my fellow conservatives? It's time to get in their face and tell them you're going to stop this mess.
And just calling out their behavior is all you have to do.
You call out the behavior.
It speaks for itself.
100%.
Task Force Freedom. I know you're northern part of the Colorado, northern area here. Give us a way, kind of how we can follow, support, get behind your work, and give us just a little taste of what you guys are really getting after right now.
Yeah. So we've been challenging, as you know, the pornographic books in the school districts up here. There's one school district that has basically removed the books from their middle schools. I'm not going to mention their names.
Sure.
There's another charter school that has changed their policy so that parents can be notified if their child wants to check out a book.
We're making entryways, making progress.
Yes.
Okay.
However, most of them are freaks and perverts.
Yeah.
They don't care. They don't give two flying stinks that your child is looking at pornography. There's a code, should I say, a warm place in hell for these people. I don't mind telling them that. They're freaks and they're perverts. I don't care about your PhD. I don't care about your doctorates. I don't care about all the letters behind your name. You're harming children and you belong in prison. They're violating a federal law. It's called Title 18, Section 1466A, that says you cannot show a child any illustration, picture, cartoon of an adult having sexual relations with a child. And there are thousands of books like that. I recently, in fact, I mailed that stuff last week, wrote a letter to President Trump, and I copied Pam Bondi, Bongino, Cash Patel, Lauren Boebert, and Kennedy from Louisiana, saying this law exists. We should have our president make a comment.
Yes.
You need to speak out against this. When you speak out, you will put the fear of God in these fools that are providing to kids. You will let them know. I think these kids have a right to sue the pants off these people, but the crime is being committed by thousands, probably millions of teachers and school administrators every single day. And so the fight continues. I'm not going to stop. I've told Greeley School Board, I ain't stopping until you go to prison. Yes. You fools belong in jail. And then they prevented me from talking, which is okay, because I don't need your I don't need your platform. The president is a pastor in a church in Greeley.
It's crazy.
We organized a protest. We went to his church on a Sunday.
There you go.
25 of us, and told his parishioners, your pastor's giving kids pornography.
Pastor's a pervert.
He's a freak and a pervert.
Yep.
Michael Matthews. Yep. You freak.
That's exactly the thing. So what's the best way for folks to follow Taskforce? How do they because they're going to want to know if they can participate and or support.
So you can, if you love to participate and be involved in protecting kids, I'm at taskforcefreedom@aol.com. Send me an email. We're on, we have multiple, social media platforms. Yes. Taskforce Freedom.
I know you're on Instagram, so of course we'll get some of this on there and link us up. Any other places to find you guys?
And then we have a website. It's taskforcefreedomnoco.com.
Okay.
If your heart tells you, we would love to have a donation. Everybody here at Taskforce Freedom, they're volunteers, and we just use those funds to pay for our social media platforms, our website, and then we do a lot of peaceful protests. Yes. We make signs. We contribute to some people that really need a little bit of help. Yep. But if you can donate, that would be awesome. The biggest thing is no longer is it okay to be quiet. Yeah. Yep. It's your voice. They killed a man, a father, a husband because of his voice. That's how much they are terrified of us speaking. So speak the truth, man, no matter what. Speak the truth, even if it hurts. Speak the truth, because people need to know what these animals has done to our country. See, we've been taken over. Trump said we're at war. In fact, I think it was Jesse Waters saying they've been at war with us for decades. Oh yeah. We just never paid attention. We just woke up. We understand the war, and we're going to bring the pain of truth to you animals.
That's beautifully said, and a great spot to put a button on it, end on it, brother. We want to support you. Prayers behind you. We'll get everything linked up where we can continue to follow your work. We appreciate your boldness. We appreciate your compassion, and something that is just always honored in the kingdom of God is people that'll fight for children. And so we are right behind you with it, folks. So thank you for joining us, and do this until next time. Serve God, help others, stay good. Goodbye. God bless everybody.
The Matthew Dark Show, your one-stop show for truth, courage, fellowship, and faith. Available everywhere you get your podcasts.